this meeting to order. Suwannee County Board of County Commissioners tentative agenda for the special call meeting Wednesday, September 13th, 2023 at 8 a.m. Item number 1 on the agenda is the approval of renewal of resolution declaring a local state of emergency due to Hurricane Idalia. Any questions, comments, concerns? Or do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion. Have a motion by Commissioner Hale, a second by Commissioner Perkins. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Mr. Musgrove.
And just for the edification of the commissioners, I didn't print it out from here, but it's the form that we need. It's literally identical to the one that was signed.
Yep.
Okay.
Some of us went through the COVID days and we renewed, I don't know how many of those, but same form thing. And nonetheless, more statute requires it, so we have to do it.
That's right.
Mr. Scott, you have any comments, things to add? Good morning, Ms. Betty.
Yes, sir. A few things. We've got briefing. I want Shannon just touch on briefly the housing. Just give you an update on the housing. We've got, and I know that Commissioner
Forward. You can't remember my name. It's all right. Forward.
I was going to say Leo, but I didn't his last name. Anyway, Mobley. He's got to get out here. He's got to be with his insurance agent, so that's more important than most things right now. But anyway, the housing, we house the folks over the temporary housing, people that had to be displaced over in Lake City at some hotels over there. We weeded some of those out that didn't want to behave. There was a little bit of damage from a couple rooms, so they are not with us anymore. The state set up some temporary housing out at Suwannee, made some improvements out there so they could be housed. It's a short-term fix. The first thing I started talking about is the exit strategy to get those people out of there, back to their homes if best we could. Most of these mobile or travel trailers that will be in starting later this week might be nicer than where they came from. Some of them have structural issues with their homes and things and can't get back in their homes. Some want to get back home as quick as they can. Others may like being in a different environment. But the goal is to get them back to their original homes or out of our responsibility as soon as we can. Along the same line, I was out there and was looking. They have some concerns. The Spirit does with the shows coming up. They've got a lot of hanging branches and things, and there's an area to the west of the pasture. One's the airstrip, and one's another pasture area that they'd like to move some camping to, some primitive camping to. I think it's the right thing to do. Ron can touch on if we need to look at temporary. Okay, it's not in my wheelhouse to be able to just sign off on that right now. It's something that the commission needs to address. We can do that at the next meeting if we want to, or if we want to do it today. It's up to the attorney on how we address that. But Ron may have some input on that.
Just had a brief conversation with Adam out there. I know the way that the agreement that your attorney had sent over is drawn up. I don't know about proceeding that way. I had mentioned having the commission issue a special permit for temporary use. Based on the time frames, I think we would be okay to be able to do that. I could take it. That process would go before the Planning and Zoning Board for an advisory decision. My normal board meeting is going to be September the 28th. I could also have that basically come to the commission on October the 3rd. I don't believe that would cause a problem with any of the dates of their events, so we could bring it before the commission on an October 3rd meeting for you to just issue a temporary use permit for that use to be conducted on those properties. Okay. That sounds better, Adam?
Yeah, it was just the statute explicitly excludes changes to zoning under emergency powers that you can do on this kind of expedited basis. So we just have to go through, if possible, the normal procedure.
Biggest thing that we don't need to have guests coming in at any venue and you know, tree branch fall out of the tree and hurt somebody. You know, I think it's the right thing to do to let it's just a pasture. There's some neighbors, most of them are rental properties that they own, the Spirit owns. Very few little impact on any other neighbors. There's a dirt road, Longmont Road to the west further. That they may need to have access out when the show's over, but it should be a really short exit. Shouldn't be really disruptive to the neighbors. So it seems like the right thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we need to do to help them, and also, you know, obviously thank the Spirit of Suwannee for accommodating those displaced families and you know, welcome them and allowing us to partner with them to provide a place for them to stay. So thanks to the parks.
Yeah. It's pretty impressive what they've done over there. I didn't go yesterday, but the days prior to that, I was over just kind of watching the progress and you know, things we don't think about, guys. I mean, there's folks they had to build wheelchair ramps
I saw that out by the
to get up into
129.
these campers and all. And there's
They're
things
throwing
we
those
take
things
for
together
granted.
quick.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we're working hard.
There's a lot of effort.
Yeah, the homes, the trailers are state of Florida. Mobile homes, they'll be our property when we get done. You know, what we do with those is a question mark. But the one thing that with the improvements that were made out there by the state, that can be a staging area when they have events for fire rescue or other folks that need to be there during the event. So it'll be a win-win for the county and for, obviously, the Spirit has an asset that they gain from that, but you know, they could have said no, we don't want to do that, and I appreciate them doing that.
And the win is for those folks that are displaced from their homes. I mean, that's the whole thing. I met a few of them over there, and they have no home to go to.
Right.
It's gone.
Yeah, and the park taking those in Suwannee County relatively close to Live Oak versus the Lake City hotels. It's a lot more convenient.
And those kids, they have kids.
They can go to school.
You know, they're in Lake City. How are they going to get back over here to go to school? Like you said. So, yeah.
And we have arranged for a bus pickup and that kind of thing, so it's worked out well. The school, I talked to Chris yesterday, and we approach on the footprint. Usually when we use the school properties, it's just for shelters, and that's covered under a category of the storm reimbursement piece. And we also had to use, you know, we didn't have anything hardened for during the process. We had also took the footprint of some kitchen space and other things for the first responders that were there, you know, National Guard and others. So there's a process. Chris has talked to FEMA at different levels up about getting reimbursed for renting their space while we were there, making it retroactive to when we were there. School board offices, some things we did in the middle school and other spaces. It's not important where, but we go through a process to get reimbursed from FEMA for that. So it'd be like a rental we do at the school for that to help the school do it. The school is troopers. They were all hands on deck. You know, during the office space, we took their pens and pencils and staples, and it's like we just invaded their whole space, and they never blinked at us being there. So the other thing that happened, the track got damaged. The track needed to be replaced anyway, so it gives an opportunity to replace that the way it should be done. I've been talking to people about the track for probably 6-7 years about needing to have a rubberized surface and things so it could meet the threshold or what is expected now for having a track. But there was some damage by the National Guard getting on it apparently. Going for rocks at National Guard, just appreciate they were here, but sure, it's something we'll have to address at some point. I don't know how we'll handle that or whatever, but it'll be as we know more about it. I haven't looked at it yet, so just heard that yesterday, so.
Well, I mean, I think those kind of things happen when you're extraditing, human life and safety.
Right.
You kind of got to come back and clean up the mess later.
Exactly.
They might make a mess in doing so, but,
It is what it is.
it is what it is.
There, over at Douglas Center and also the high school, there's going to be some repair stuff we have to do with leveling fields and that kind of stuff, irrigations and whatever, but again, that would be a process, so.
Correct.
On the park side, on like Douglas, we've been there, done that, so it's not a huge deal. We met, there's a meeting on Thursday with the DOT. Apparently they didn't know who we were. Is that right? But they didn't know who the contact was for the county. So we moved, managed to get some conversation with them while I was at the EOC yesterday morning. We got people who to call, talked to the lady, Lola Butler, right? Had a good conversation with her. Very receptive, and so we'll let Shannon review the contract we have with DOT, but understand this. We have an agreement with DOT. DOT is responsible for the vendor. We don't have a say in that really. It is their choice on how they use. However, if we have issues, we will go to DOT, have that conversation. Anybody who wants to work for the company can contact them directly and go through their process. The county needs to stay out of that process. We don't need to have the liability on us if anything goes wrong. A subcontractor and the vendor. I'm not saying there would be, but in the past, vendors who do tree and debris removal work sometimes leave a bad taste in people's mouths later. So this is, they're going to be responsible, and Shannon can touch this, if they damage a mailbox, if they damage somebody's yard, in an extreme way, fences, whatever they damage, signs, whatever, they're responsible for coming back and fix that. I met with our public works supervisors yesterday and talked about, as they ride and look and document things that they see, if they see piles that were missed or whatever, document that so we can circulate it back to DOT to make sure it's on the list. So I feel good about that for us. The initial contract is about almost $7 million for the company. It'll probably grow to 10 or 15, and that's a checkbook we didn't need to hold the check on, and waiting 3 or 4 years for FEMA to pay us back. So I think the right thing was done to have DOT be the lead agency, but we don't have the control I would like for us to have. But at the same time, it's almost a blessing, another way to say, the DOT's handling it.
Yeah, I think that in that meeting that we sat in, that Keith and Barry gave us the numbers. The county truly only has approximately $12.8 million that are unrestricted funds and reserves, and some of those are earmarked for matching grants or the grants that we got float up front. I mean, they're not. When I say unrestricted, it's not non-TDC, non-fire assessment type stuff. So, I mean, that would have wiped us out. It would have wiped us out on debris removal. So, I mean, we really didn't have a choice. But have we, or are we going to create like a county liaison? Like, do you want all 5 of us commissioners calling somebody? Just get over to you, because I don't think that.
Yeah,
I think it'd be better if we had a point of contact to work with DOT versus all 5 of us calling them, and then just kind of go through you.
Go through me, and if you got an issue, let us know.
I think that would be cleaner.
After about 2 days, I might get assigned to somebody else.
Well, and if you look, Greg, or Shannon, if there's a number, because we do get calls from the locals, want to know how they can, do some of this work and clean up. If there's some number or email or something that we can?
You should have
They
got that.
just should have,
You should have got that.
Did it come? Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
Rick sent out a text on it.
Good.
A lot of them been asking about it as well, but I think it is that best that we did, the DOT handled it. I take all the legal stuff off from us and worry about these piles and mailboxes and all that stuff. And then
Well, I was wondering that if we could put that maybe on our site, because people are looking at our site a lot.
Yeah.
And maybe Jimmy, I know folks are checking out your site as well, I've got a lot of folks say that. So, and then we can try to get the word out there too, but more people are going to those sites looking.
But, you know, I like that. It's a lot of these young people, a lot of these companies here, they like to do, we got a lot of tree guys that are doing it. Morgan over there, fire department, they all want to do that, get into it. We got a lot of outside people doing this stuff, get contracts. So I think it's best to use some young people, use some of our own people.
Just when you talk to them, I'm trying to say this the right way. In other situations before, some of these companies have not paid contractors for whatever reason. I know that Donna Serrano's husband did some hauling at one time, had a real tough time getting paid and that sort of thing. I don't say anything negative about the company that was selected, but
I think that debris removal business is so fast, so big, so quick that a lot of times some of those subs, maybe sometimes intentionally, but a lot of times unintentionally, just get overlooked. And it's like, no, we've closed the deal. It's too late. You didn't give me the paperwork. I can't pay you. Type situation. So be careful.
The biggest thing too with that process is the rigid requirements that FEMA has on the main contractor. That if you don't do it right, then they're not going to get reimbursed. So, Shannon will give a little overview of the.
Before he does that, I just want, you mentioned something, and you were exactly right. I just want everybody to know again why, like you said, the amount of money and why we didn't take this burden on ourselves. And it's not that I know none of us are scared to do it. I mean, we want to get the county cleaned up. But Jimmy, that meeting we were at Friday, I think this was for Mariana. He said it took 5+ years.
Still waiting.
Still waiting on their
On some of it.
That's going mackerel.
So just to give y'all an idea, I mean, it could take 6, 7,
That
10
would have
years.
paused any economic development. We can't be waiting on
We'd have
it
had our hands full in the upcoming years trying to.
financially.
That's right.
And to speak with what Mr. Scott was saying, just for anybody that wants to subcontract with the company that's doing the debris cleanup, please understand, they're working for those people, not Suwannee County.
Right.
So I don't want anyone to think that they can come back to Suwannee County looking for a paycheck, right? It's out of our hands. So we don't, just be very cautious and diligent, and if you want to work with them, do it. Be sure you do it the right way, but it is not Suwannee that's guaranteeing that paycheck.
Yeah, that is correct.
Well, they should make contract with that company, do a contract with them.
You're on your own with them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I know we talk about this a lot. The contract is between FDOT and TFR Enterprises. We are not a party to it. As a matter of fact, the only time Suwannee is mentioned is where it says what location they're going to do their work.
Right.
That's it. Now, Greg said we'll have back channel communication with them, which is fine. So when does all this start? Well, they signed the contract on the 8th, but the vendor has to have time to mobilize. We have to give them where are our DEP authorized site locations, and they've asked us for a prioritized list on how things are going to be cleaned. We've given them all that. DOT will make some decisions and basically let TFR know, here's how you're going to do it. So people ask about, it'll start maybe by tomorrow. We don't know. It's when they get those details solidified and arranged, that's when it starts. So we're thinking we've got a 2 o'clock meeting tomorrow. Maybe they start then. I don't know. Because we don't get to see all those decisions that are made, and they don't run right to us and tell us. But we will certainly be asking. Well, how soon do you get your stuff to the road? Now. Get it now. Keep going. There are some folks that are going to have a problem with that. There is a number on the county website for debris removal and cleanup. It's the Crisis Cleanup Hotline. Anyone can go on there and call them. There is probably 1,000 volunteers in this county that can go out and take limbs off, houses, clean the debris out of the yard. They have heavy equipment to cut trees. If there are folks that are in need and can't get this done, they can absolutely call, and people will help them for free.
Saying that, will you check, someone called and told me that the last two numbers of that were transposed, maybe it was 4-5 and should have been 5-4 or something?
It's a.
On
I
our
just got
site.
an image. It's a little sign that they made. It was a prepackaged image, so I'll check on it.
Just check.
I don't know how it can be transposed.
Yeah.
I got a question too. Well, what the little roads that they don't have no ditch space in, and it's graded road, but there's
Woods or fence all the way up
there's
to the
a
line.
fence all the way to each
Side
side.
road.
What do they do at that point? Can they leave them inside the fence, or
They,
because you know a lot of roads are like that?
Well, their contract says they're not allowed to go on private property.
we did discuss this in the EOC.
But there's nowhere to put it on most dirt roads, or they be blocking the road. Either party puts anything there, nobody's gonna be able to get through. So
Yeah, I think that's gonna be a problem with some of these rural.
There's a lot of
roads.
them. A lot of
Either
spots
it's wooded
like
all the way up
that.
to the line rock, or it's fenced all the way up to the line rock. And there's really no right of way there. You're gonna have to put
they're
it-
all taxpayers too. So I mean,
One thing I can say, we could maybe identify a location. The problem is, will people bring it to a location? I mean, they could bring it to the landfill. They pay their their special assessment. So I don't think we charge them.
We might be able to reach out to the Crisis or Team Rubicon, and where we find those things to see if they have the stuff to go get it and get it out of that area to a spot where they can put it.
Right. Problem is, if we put it in an open spot, then these tree companies are going to find that that's a good spot for them to dump their stuff too, that are contracting and.
I know what one guy did, because this was brought up to me. He actually just took his fence down, because he stacked it right, because it's just what you guys are saying. There's our dirt road, our burn, and his fence. He actually just took his fence, because he still has cattle in there, and he ran it around behind
Put a
it.
temporary fence
He
around the
did.
pile.
He did, so it's there where they can grab it.
And I know that'd be frustrating for the landowner, but it beats having to hire someone with a dump trailer or equipment to be able to move it and haul it to the landfill, because they're going to get compensated for it. So if you don't have that equipment, you're going to have to pay somebody. So it might be cheaper to buy some metal T-posts and some barbed wire and fence you a place around it. I don't know, but it's going to be a case-by-case basis. Let's do the best we can.
I don't have, always.
There's not a good answer.
They can do the best they can.
Yeah,
It's going to be damned if you do and damned if you don't.
I understand.
But I think that if we just let them know, Mr. Bobby, they remove the fence there if you can, lay it down, whatever you can do to where it's accessible, then they're not really going on the property, they'll just be reaching, 'cause I'm assuming they'll have that type of machine.
Kind of on the same line of that is we had an issue over there on White Spring Road where the homeowner's taking debris off their property, carried it across the street, put it on the other side of the street, and they upset the neighbor because they dumped it on their side. But they keep their side manicured, they just dump it on their side without asking permission or anything. I know it's on county right away and probably hitting on their property as well. I think we had that problem.
I had the same, mine across the street neighbors the same way.
You up on their property?
No.
that's what I was going to ask.
A couple of other things you'll want to know. How long does this take? There is no timeline that says, oh, we'll be done in 3 weeks. It's a matter of they're going to make a pass. They go through their prioritized things. Then we can communicate through back channels, hey, we still have things that you missed. Maybe folks didn't get it to the road in time, and now they did. So they'll come back. They're going to make these passes. How many they will make, I have no idea. That's between us lobbying DOT and DOT and that vendor to say something. What I'm told unofficially is maybe 3. So we'll have to see.
3 passes.
3 passes.
That's okay.
All the way through the county. 3 passes. So
I think one of the big messages that we need to put out there and promote is expedite getting it to the right of way.
Yes.
I mean, we're all busy. I still got trees down that I got to deal with because we're doing other stuff, but
yeah.
we need to expedite that. If you
Get
wait 60 days and put it out there, you might miss your window and then you're going to be stuck with it.
That is correct. And how they'll decide when it's done, FDOT and the vendor, I've made so many passes, and they'll declare, okay, we're done. We won't even know it's done. I mean, we can ask, and they'll let us know, all right, we're not coming back anymore.
Again, our supervisors are, and others with public works should be writing. I mean, if Ron mentioned to your guys too, if they see things that are in disarray or piles, just keep that communication going. But we'll be monitoring the roads as we're on them. So
I've also heard a lot of questions about what's going to be done with the debris. The contract says they'll grind it, burn it, or recycle it, but DOT decides which one, and they will tell the vendor which one. So which one will they choose? I don't know now. Maybe we'll know that tomorrow or the next day.
Fair enough. I don't want to drag our meeting out because I know Commissioner Law's got an insurance guy coming to his business in place. So you mentioned that for the meeting.
They mentioned real quick the G's guys, grader guys rolling. They'll be working Friday also. Keep trying to catch up. So trying to get back to normal, whatever that is, as soon as we can. There's some roads that will not be able to be graded because of debris and stuff, but we'll be making passes and doing the best they can. And get on it. Just proud of the guys, all of our guys and gals who work for us, doing what it takes, nights, weekends, whatever, to make it better for the citizens. And
we appreciate them all. That's for sure.
Y'all got something? Jimmy, you and Ron got something?
You want to talk about?
We got a few minutes, I think. Commissioner Law, we got a few more minutes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, we had, I guess the idea had popped up about the old Suwannee Mall property.
A little backstory on that was we've been looking at this for possible locations of other things, and so we've been in communication with these folks for the last, couple of years. But anyway, during the storm, I think they reached out to Commissioner Land.
So, previous boards, we talked about swamp. This has been going on Suwannee Mall. Maybe because of the tax collector's office, property appraiser, we all know that we got some office space issues within the county that can continue to grow, and we got to grow with it. Anyway, yes, Suwannee Mall by the Music Center there. So they're post hurricane. They own a lot of rental properties throughout the state. That one is obviously subpar. The structure is. So after that, it did take some damage. They live in my district. They reached out to me and said, "Hey, if y'all are interested in buying this, we would be very aggressive on sale if y'all are interested. We got so much on our plate with damage. We'd be interested in selling." So I kind of hooked them up with Jimmy and Greg and Ron and removed myself out of that. And then so they went out and did a property inspection yesterday. I think that's what Ron's going to share with us today to see if we're interested. It doesn't matter to me either way. I'm just facilitating and passing it along, kind of handed that off to them.
Same thing here. They just asked to meet with them. Very nice folks. You guys remember them? They actually bought property from you. The South Dollars family, the Dr. Gus and Miss Deb. So we tried to coordinate this on Sunday, but we couldn't get the people there. Mr. Bailey and his team joined us over there yesterday. Ron, myself, Robin, Mr. Scott came by.
Robin was doing some damage assessments with the drone.
This is the drone he wanted to buy through the budget, but we bought it through the storm stuff. We already got it using.
He's been doing damage assessments, so we were able to look at some of the structural components and damage from. We had previously pulled up property appraisers imagery and looked at the exterior of the building, and then we actually had some imagery from NOAA and had noticed that there was some damage associated with the storm. So you can't get up on the building. No. So we had Robin come over and
that when they used to build part of it, some years ago, Mr. Scott wanted either for a boys and girls club, and we were going to do repairs, and Johnson was $100,000 to fix that roof back then.
That is the old TGNY area.
Yeah.
So it goes straight to the floor. Then we move back over in here. You have some tenants where there's a phone shop, there's church area, and the cheap furniture. There are some spaces in there that we did notice. You can see sunlight coming through. This area over here, you can see roof material has been peeled back, AC units displaced, a lot of structural.
I think that's the teak store, I believe, Ron, right?
Yes.
If and they've got inventory in there, all in there now, but we were trying to identify what happened in the storm. That was storm damage that we know because it was not like that pre-storm.
The image quality is right.
You see it?
Yeah,
It's moved, it's
Yeah.
displaced, but it's still running. You see
Yeah.
that? Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, the building roof off and its insulation is showing.
That electrical conduit kept it from flying off.
It's
while
the
it was
only
sitting
thing
there.
that did.
Probably the only thing.
Yeah.
So I think Mr. Bailey was there as well. Greg Bailey, our county engineer.
Phil Bishop was there as well.
Yeah, he had a team. He had 4 folks there. He brought over to help assist us do a quick assessment on this because I know the owners of the property are literally like
Anxious.
they need to do something yesterday because of all the damage they've occurred on other properties. So they had joined us as a courtesy to the county to do just a quick walkthrough. Nothing official, whereby they would actually do a report unless that's requested, but just as a courtesy walkthrough. So we just wanted, Mr. Scott mentioned showing you guys this morning. We just wanted y'all to see kind of what we saw over there.
But they're looking to move the property. Obviously, the structural damage is significant and has probably really affected the value of the structure. If there's much left on some ends of the building, probably no structural value. On the, I guess would be the west end, west half. East end's got some other tenants in it that appears to be in decent shape. Yeah, correct. So they're here to share that with you guys, and I guess maybe Mr. Scott's looking for some type of direction.
Yeah. In talking to Greg Bailey, I was there just for a short time, but Greg said you got asbestos abatement, you got lead abatement. Might cost you up to $1 million to remove the structure. But the value is in the dirt. It's impervious, soil's already there. It's already permitted through water management for retention.
There's a lot of usable space already grandfathered in.
Right.
Less retention area.
Right.
And I do want to give them a shout out. All these barbecue guys that are over there, if any of y'all been by them, see Operation Barbecue Relief, they allowed them to use their whole entire facility. That they're all the way around this building, and so I do want to thank Salvador's family for that courtesy.
Mark, can you fix that roof?
How much money you got?
I will tell you, looking at that inside that particular area, all your decking is, as you see, a lot of it's gone and rusted out, and the problem there being that most of your bar joists running across the top are also would all have to be replaced. They're completely rusted out as well. From our conversations, it looks like if you were to try to salvage the building, you'd have to tear the roof off the whole entire structure and start over. It just appears like when you start getting that in the building code, Commissioner Perkins, as you know, once you get 50% of the value of the property, you got to bring everything up to today's code. That looks to be the direction this building would be headed in. So it seems like you're talking about property more so acquisition. Now there is a lot of value there because of, as Mr. Scott mentioned, that you don't have to worry about the stormwater piece because this property's grandfathered in with all the impervious area that it already has. So instead of losing 30% of the property to a pond, it would all be usable. But I don't know that the building is going to be.
The end piece here is where the old soapbox is at. There's not a whole lot of damage there. The interior is fine. This area we're not able to access. There's about a 6,000 square foot area that Dr. Gus uses for storage. There's a bay door here, but there is no frontage access to this because there is a wall here. but that is storage area. This was the old TG&Y, and then farther east you go, you get into the tenants.
One of the questions that I was asked, and just FYI, if you guys do acquire, the county can maintain and lease property for profit. So they can stay there. The current tenants, there won't be any issues.
Take care, buddy.
See you.
Good luck.
That's one of the questions I want to ask. What happened to tenants if they acquired the building? Would they be able to still be housed there? So
There's only one, I think, with an active lease. I think everybody else there is kind of a month-to-month rental. I did ask that question just in case the county acquired it.
Obviously, I hear they're motivated. We're meeting every week on this stuff. I'd like to have the whole board here if we can.
Yeah, I think we just, we tell, ask Greg and staff to continue to talk about it, research it. I mean, the location of the property obviously is ideal. It's right by all the schools. I mean, it would fit great to, yeah, I mean, it's close, and finding an open parcel like that with, I don't know what the percentage of usable space, talking about retention, 90% usable as far as the footprint of the property. Where else you're going to find that inside the city limits of Lilo for potential government offices?
Well, you got,
I don't know. So that's the reason why I'm kind of interested in it. But it's all based on the numbers. So I would ask those guys to continue research. I mean, Commissioner Mobley had to leave.
Sure.
Commissioner White's obviously not here. We'll talk about that in a minute.
and you're really looking at twofold. One is, how can you use it to keep it on the tax roll or in governmental use, as opposed to it being just who can go in there and just buy that and restore it?
Correct.
I mean, what business, it's like, who's going to risk of putting a business there? And you look at other communities and you see older shopping areas used for public space. So, I mean, you got the building, the property appraiser, tax collector, sheriff all need space. We expect to be receiving, we don't know what it will be, but money from the state for projects moving forward. Does this, anyway.
So I agree with Commissioner Hale. I think that we would just ask you guys to continue to look at options and talk about it, and then we'll be back here obviously again in 7 days or less to renew another LSE, so we can talk about it more then.
I'm sure they're going to be called, want to talk to somebody, so I don't know who to tell them to talk to. So
I mean, same with the contractor. I would point them to either Greg or you have a relationship with them already. I do too, but as a commissioner, I don't really want to get tangled up in dealing that close to a project and then let them deal with it, and then that way we can all discuss it in a meeting.
And again, I understand them. They're, like you said, they're motivated. They got some other properties, some damage, things like that. But like you said, we got to do what's right for our community. And I mean, I would say talk to those other folks like Sharon Jordan and those that have been looking. I mean, it kind of fits. It checks off a couple boxes.
The location.
Yeah.
we do know they got somebody interested right now, and the only reason we know that, I'm not pressuring you guys. It's up to y'all. We don't care. I don't mean that bad. It's just that that's up to you guys. Whatever the vision is for the future. But Ron was contacted directly by a developer who's looking at it.
Sometimes it's good to get the city and the county mixed up, right? So they sent me the information. I forwarded them to the city, but yeah, it was a development company that indicated that is their specialty, is acquiring old mall properties and building them out for rental spaces.
But
So that was.
So if we get, Greg, you mentioned the tax roll, even if we can legally lease out, I mean, it's really not on the tax roll, but I mean, there's not a ad valorem tax assessed to that, right?
The county can't tax itself,
Right.
so, but the county does, to the statute, have the
To
absolute right.
collect the rent.
Correct. And for maximum profit, in fact, you have an obligation.
I mean,
for maximum profit.
I brought it to Greg because it was brought to me.
Sure,
We talked about it for years, 3 years in the past. So
there's
we'll
a
share
lot-
that with y'all. And
A lot of
the
boxes.
time is
to
not
check
great,
off.
but
Yeah,
it never is.
that's right.
I would like to point out, obviously, just so you know, outside of the building, Robin, I think you guys know, but he went and got his license to be able to do things like this with drone footage. So when you guys were in budget workshops and they were talking about how we could use a drone and what that could do, this is what it can do for us. It can help us in so many ways. We couldn't get on this building. It was unsafe to get on that building. But the drone literally that he got in here a few days ago, he was able to look at the storm damage for us. And so thank y'all for that. And this technology could be advantageous for any department that needed to look at anything. So
he's already used it on a couple sites that have had trees falling on houses, so he's been able to go out and fly those as well for structural damage.
I think it was something with this fire department also wanted one of the drones when they're talking about. So you assist them as well.
We was able to purchase 3, one for sheriff's office, one for fire rescue, one for us, for Robin and those guys, the building department, through this.
Search and rescue, hurricane, impassable roads type.
When you see something like that, I'll ask the two guys that've been in the business. I mean, are those walls salvageable and just have to replace the roof? Or
No, I think like you said, some of the steel in the roof.
But
that's in the roof. The block.
It's a block structure. The structure, there was some settling cracks. I noticed there was some, how these guys can tell you when mortar starts getting. I mean, I think it's built what was it, 8 or somewhere. So it's 45 years old. You'll start seeing some deterioration. But the outside wall structure, I think, is probably sound. Again, the problem is once you get over 50% of the value of that structure,
you have to bring it.
You got to bring the whole entire structure to today's standards, to today's building code.
Okay.
And that includes everything from energy efficiency to electrical upgrades, plumbing. I mean, across the board. And so, if you got to go to that route, then you may want to design something you want from a new, because you're going to be working around that footprint forever.
Ron, while you're there, can you, and maybe before you get done, do you have on your computer the GIS information the guys did during the storm? Should you show them an example of what that looks like?
You talking about when they flew?
Right.
The updated?
Well, I'm not sure they flew or not, but it showed like the park appraisers had the different sites, different properties that were damaged. Just the whole GIS piece.
Did they get that done in one day, like they said?
I don't know how many days it took.
Yes, that was pretty amazing what they were doing.
I would have to get with Joe. I don't have that. Okay. He did have that information available. So what it did is, I don't know if a lot of you are aware that if you're on the property appraiser's website, just use this for example. You see this tab here where it says report hurricane damage? So you can actually click that and you go in and put your information, okay, and it will populate to the property appraiser site. Well, the GIS team has been working with us is also grabbing that same information and populating a map and putting those on an actual GIS map to grab those properties that have sustained damage. So rather than us having to go door to door and knock on the doors and try to figure out what somebody's had done, people are able to self-report and it's populating the map, and then they can send their field appraisers to verify. So rather than trying to comb the whole county, we got into this discussion. Mr. Gamble had basically went over that to do his assessments in the field, it typically takes him 4 to 5 years to get through the county. We don't have 4 to 5 years. We don't have the staff to get out and go door to door and just look at everybody's property. So this is a valuable tool that allows individuals to self-report and then state their information damage. It's going to populate to our GIS maps, and we can actually just then go look.
How are you getting that word out to the citizenry?
It's been populated on the
county website,
on the county website, sheriff's office.
Website. They've been handing out flyers.
That's what I was thinking, the flyer thing, because a lot of people, the older people, they don't use technology, they just don't use it.
Yeah, public information, people have been pushing that information out. A lot of times those individuals, I'm sure they could come into the property appraiser's office and they, if they don't have the technology, of course, Ms. Betty tell you they got computers available in the library, so somebody can show up there and and do it if they don't have that technology.
I got a mother that's 93 years old.
Mhm.
You can forget that.
Yeah.
It ain't happening. And there's a lot of people in this county that are that way.
Well, they know that they're going to get the information that comes into them
Yeah.
a variety of different ways.
Yeah.
If a good chunk of that can be taken
Sure.
and dealt with this way,
Yeah.
then that limits the ones that you've got to go and try to find.
And those older people will go to the property appraiser's office. They'll come in and go there, and they will share that information there. So
I know that yesterday, I don't know if they've done it yet, but they were working on some radio advertisements, stuff that was going to be played on local radio, because, you know, you still have a lot of people listening to local radio. Mr. Land has mentioned that, and they're pushing the information out to all media avenues that they can.
When you sit up there and you see all the things that you got to deal with when this happens, you just can't imagine the ask that they have. Like this, like going door to door, basically everybody's house, but it is so important that every single person report if they have any damage, because ultimately, if you guys hadn't noticed, nobody's here talking about Suwannee County. They're still talking about Tampa and the water they got on their roads from the hurricane. They're not here in Suwannee County, right? We're not a big newsworthy area, I guess. So the people getting all the attention are going to also get all the money. So it's really important that we try to.
That's right.
So this is reporting damage to
Your own person.
I'm putting something up.
Yeah, also along the same line too, even if you haven't gotten damaged but you're affected at all, it's important to register with FEMA. You know, some people get denied, all of a sudden there's $700 in their checking account.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the bigger umbrella we have as far as people registering with FEMA, that helps us on the bigger picture, money should come back down later. So, just encourage all your people to get online.
And to reapply, you're right, because Jimmy, that's what they said Friday. Jimmy had some folks speaking to us down in Williston, that you'll get that first denial.
Yeah.
And typically it's just not enough information or something like that. But they really encourage you to keep applying and calling, and because they're going to affect you something.
You know, it's kind of funny you mentioned that. They came by my first time at my house before the president got in, and I told them I didn't have that damn
They
tree
make you
hit
leave
me.
before the president came because you was on that other list.
Anyhow, so I told my little reported damage. I said, there's a tree on my shop back there. I get it off or whatever. But then later in that meeting, they said that it was best to do it if we didn't have any damages, because the overall picture will show that the damage impact was to the county.
Right.
It would help the county out.
Right.
But then I had some more came by there and said, but I told them exactly what I said. I want them to go ahead and do it because help the county out. They said, no, that don't help. They said, but so if one FEMA said it helps, the other part of FEMA said it's no good. So
Federal government is finest.
yeah.
I'm gonna wrap this up unless y'all have anything more very important to talk about. I too have a 9 o'clock meeting in town.
Let me just mention one thing. This is to the vice chair the other day. We think it's advantageous for us to get optimum reimbursement, that we contract with a firm that can come help us through the process of reimbursement. There's an initial cost, and it's not to exceed about $60,000. But if we're looking at $1 million or $2 million, it's worth the money to have them help us. We vetted them through representatives that were here helping us, and there's firms that they've said they're very good, others that you may not want to use them. So unofficially they sure gave us some guidance, and this is one of the upper tier teams. So
I think you continue to explore that avenue and then bring it back to a regular scheduled board meeting, or the next LSC meeting if we need to. Or if not, it's not needed. I think it's important to cross our eyes and come down doing that.
Yeah, we just got the agreement in. I got it last night. I can get that circulated. we got a proposal, but now we have a proposed
I
agreement.
understand.
Jerry, go ahead.
No. But we don't have time
Yeah.
to go through the whole formal process.
I understand.
I think it's very important though to do that because there's the way, and Ms. Perkins, you was at that meeting, we're gonna leave a lot on the table and it's gonna be a lot of cost to our community if we don't have someone like that looking out for us.
Someone that's professional doing this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Chairman, they said when we were at NFEDP that the whole meeting was about storms. They changed the whole agenda. But the folks that went through Michael, they had a whole panel there that talked about do's and don'ts and what works and what doesn't work. The number one thing they said is you have to get a consultant.
Yes.
You guys don't know what you don't know. You'll leave dollars on the table, or you'll leave one T uncrossed or one I not dotted. That's the number one thing that you have to do, whoever it is.
Correct.
But get you somebody.
These are professionals at doing Finlands and stuff.
We just need a consensus to allow him to do that, or
Who's got the authority there?
okay, gotcha.
So citizen, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I just
I'm
want to make
really
sure.
quick hurry.
So citizens should register for FEMA if they have any personal property damage.
Yes.
Or were affected at all.
Or affected or displaced. or
Even if they just lost power, they said tell them to register.
They lost food in their refrigerator from being out. Any type of displacement.
FEMA registration,
Okay.
does it duplicate just what we're trying to do here, or do they just merge? Are the two different things? Okay. Do we get the FEMA information for our stuff? Can we get that to help us fulfill the missing gaps and what we're trying to do here?
Let's ask that question in a minute.
Okay.
Does anybody got anything else to add?
Nope.
The only thing I would add, I would ask all of y'all to pray for Commissioner White's mother. That's the reason he's not here. She's been battling cancer for a long time, and she's in a bad place right now, and that's where he's at today. So I just ask y'all to pray for the White family and Mrs. White. So with that, all I need is a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Perkins,
There you
second by
go.
Commissioner
Gotta be
Hale.
quick.
All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Adjourned.